You do me a favor, you start the camera, roll it, and then move out on the shot. You do a shot. You know, white shot.
Well, I'm streaming, so
With this good, stream it. You don't need to stand there for it, do you? All I see is the back of your shirt.
Well, he said, once you start the video.
Thanks.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Hello. Well, my name is Tim O'Hare. I'm the county judge here at Tarrant County. We are all here tonight because we are united to make sure Cheryl Bean becomes the next state rep. You're going to hear from Brian Harrison. Of course, you'll hear from Cheryl, and we'll hear from Ted Cruz, who is on his way here as we speak. So we're going to start this evening off the way Cheryl wants every evening started off, and that's in prayer, to So to lead us in our opening prayer is a friend of conservatives throughout Tarrant County, my friend Cheryl's friend Dan Bates. Please welcome him.
Would you go to the Lord with me and ask His blessing on our time? Father God, we come before you acknowledging that you and you alone are worthy of our praise. Father, we kneel before you as a sovereign over all seen and unseen things. Father, we thank you for the blessings that you have poured out upon our nation and our state, our county and our city. Father, I just ask that we would lift up to you all of our elected representatives, all of our state representatives, Judge O'Hara, Representatives Tinderholt, Schleichlein, Harrison, and all of the candidates. Be favor of Cheryl Bean and John O'Shea and the candidates that we know are called according to your purpose. Father, may all of these be courageous and bold and lead in truth and righteousness according to your word for the cause of liberty, not for our recreation, but liberty so that we can worship and serve you, the one true Most High God. We ask your favor tonight. May everything that we do, think, and say bring honor and glory to you. It's in the matchless name of your only begotten Son and our Savior, Jesus, that we ask all these things. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dan, very much. Now lead us in our pledges of allegiance, Cheryl's good friend, Brenda Helmer.
Gentlemen, please remove your hats. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Precinct Chair, Tarrant County GOP. She's going to sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets around the land, pebbles bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner its way o'er the land and all the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Cheryl. Be seated. Let's give it up one more time for Natalie. Thank you very much. You can feel the enthusiasm in this crowd. This is incredible. Thank you for being here on behalf of Cheryl and John. They are a remarkable couple, brilliant business people. But I will tell you this, they love America. They love Texas. They love Fort Worth. And they know that we are in a battle for the heart and and soul of this nation. We need people in Austin. We need people in Washington. We need people in Tarrant County. We need people throughout every single elected office in this land that understand we're in a battle for our country unlike ever before. So we have people who want a godless society. That's who we're fighting. We have people who think it is okay to castrate children. That is who we are fighting. We have people who think an open border is good for our country. That's who we are fighting. And we know of the two people left in this race, there is one and one only who is going to be a fighter. And that is Cheryl Bean. Primary runoffs are strange preaching. Not a lot of people show up because there's not a lot of people on the ballot. There's not nearly as many people pushing people out to vote. But with this crowd, these people behind Cheryl, if you bring this same energy in the next month, I promise you she's going to come out on top and she will represent us well. We have some people in the Texas House who think the right way to govern Texas is to allow Democrats to run committees. How many of you, by a show of hands, believe if Democrats were in charge, they would give Republicans committee chairs? Not one of you. Cheryl has promised to make sure she doesn't vote for anyone for Speaker that's going to give Democrats a seat at the table as a committee chair, and she'll stay true to that promise. Cheryl and John supported me from day one. I'm so proud to call them friends. They will do a phenomenal job. And how many of you are tired of people that run for office and they say one thing and they get in and do the opposite? Well, I hope you will believe that what I said I would do, I'm doing, and then some. And I'm here to tell you that Cheryl Bean will do the exact same thing. We can count on her. There is no doubt about it. Keep up that enthusiasm, push her across the finish line, and when it's all said and done, you're going to be glad you did. Democrats think they can take Tarrant County in November. They think they can take the presidency. They're trying to go one step at a time. They're constantly attacking Bill Wavering. They're constantly attacking me. We can take it, and we're going to show them that not only is Tarrant County not going blue, not going purple, we're going to gain ground, and Cheryl's going to help us do it. A friend to Texas and a friend to conservatives across this land is a good friend of mine. He's our next speaker. I cannot tell you how proud I am of Nate Schatzline. This is a guy that fights, but he fights like we all ought to fight. He is truly a happy warrior. And he is always going to stand up for the kingdom of God. He's going to stand up for America. He's going to stand up for the rule of law. And for someone that was just a freshman and completed his first term, maybe he accomplished more than any freshman we've seen in a long time. This young man has a bright career ahead of him. I'm so proud to call him a friend. I'm proud to see him supporting Cheryl. And he is one of the original signers of the contract with Texas. Please give it up.
You know, he won't say it himself, but he believe we have the greatest county judge in America right here. I do too. How many are ready to get Cheryl Bean elected to Texas House? This is a nice I know you are. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. Tonight is a special night. We're gonna have incredible speakers. We just had one, and we're gonna have as we go forward. But tonight is a special night because there is a change in the winds of Texas, and for the first time, there is a spotlight being shown on the Texas House. And what's been done in secret is now being exposed. That we must reform the Texas House and make the Texas House Republican again. You know, for too long, we've seen backroom deals, whether it be Democrats having control inside of our committees and being given, social Marxists, I want to remind you, being given important committee chairs and killing GOP priorities. Do you know that we had over 2,000 bills come to the House floor, and not all of our 8 GOP priorities were passed? And yet, do you know that we passed, get this, over 500 Democrat bills in the Texas House in the 88th legislative session? That's the truth. And the reality is that we don't need another good man to run for the Texas House. We need strong, courageous warriors to step into the Texas House. It's not enough. It's not enough just to be a good person anymore. It's not enough just to be a good Republican anymore. We need strong conservative fighters that are willing to lay it on the line, that are willing to sign the contract with Texas, and are demanding reform in the next Speaker of the Texas House. Hear me. I'm proud to have never voted for Dave Phelan, and I don't plan on voting for Dave Phelan. In fact, I'll never forget, Representative Tony Tinderholt is here somewhere around here. He's right back here. I'll never forget on day one, everyone saying, Nate, your career is over if you vote for Tony Tinderholt for Speaker of the Texas House. Let me tell you, that's the best vote I have ever taken in the history of my time in the Texas House. Because he's a conservative champion, just like we know Cheryl Bean is going to be as well. You know, Cheryl has been courageous in every part of her fight. One of the things that she's been very vocal about is the fact that she can't believe, just like we can't believe, that we had a sham impeachment of the greatest attorney general in the history of Texas happen right here in our Republican-led Texas House. I'd love to share this story. I'll never forget, Brian was there, and in the midst of us looking over a 300-page budget for the state of Texas, we were handed a 157-page document of nothing but hearsay put on our desk that they called evidence, which we know today was not. And they put it on our desk, and I'll never forget, as Dave Phelan's leadership team pulled me into the back. We have a rule in the Texas House: we don't go anywhere near leadership without a witness being present. I grabbed Brian, and Brian grabbed a few others. I'll never forget us being pulled back into the office of the leadership team, and the words were said. This is what was said: Nate, what's it going to take to get you to vote to impeach Ken Paxton? And I said, hey, here's the deal. I said, right here, right now, I said, I just need evidence, and you've yet to give me any. And he said, Nate, you've got 157 pages sitting on your desk. And I said, don't you mean the hearsay that has absolutely not one evidential document inside of it? About that time, they said, well, what else can we get you? And I said, well, I need access to the witnesses. Maybe just an email that I can send in my questions. And they responded, well, Nate, you're not going to have access to the witnesses. Even though you're supposed to operate as a grand jury, you're not going to have access to the witnesses. And I said, well, how about longer than, 48 to 72 hours to create precedents for the first time in Texas history, overturning an election of 30 million Texans in 72 hours, the same 72 hours that we would be approving the budget of Texas. Yeah, I said, how about longer than 72 hours? Their exact words back to me were, Nate, if we give them longer than 72 hours, he's going to find a way out of this. Well, I got news for him. He did. Because due process was had. About that time, Brian Harrison stepped up and he said these words. He said, Nate, or he said to the leadership team, he said, I have one question. He said, were any of these witnesses that gave this testimony sworn in under oath before they gave that testimony? And the words repeated back to us, tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong, were, well, Brian and Nate, we didn't need to have them swear in under oath. And I said, is that your final answer? And he said, they were not sworn in under oath. And we stood up, walked out, stood with Attorney General Ken Paxton, who is continuing to fight for us today. Listen, I want you to know that as people say, is it really as bad as it seems down there? Is it really as rhino-filled as it seems down there? I'm here to tell you, yes it is, but change is coming, and Cheryl Bean is going to help bring that change. Here we are, 500 Democrat bills passed, and not all of our GOP priorities passed. And we're empowering Democrats to important committee chairmanships. And in the process of it all, we are in the middle of fighting, and this will be our last thing before I announce our next guest speaker up here. But I'll never forget, and it's important that you hear this, that in the process of us trying to ban racist DEI that's poisoning the next generation, that we see the effects on our campus at UT today. As pro-Palestine, pro-social Marxism protesters are flooding our campuses, flinging, get this, feces at our police officers. Which, by the way, is the byproduct of an entire generation growing up in an education system that is more concerned with indoctrinating them politically than educating them. We see as radical Democrats are taking over today. Here's we are. We're trying to ban this in the middle of Texas. The bill to ban DEI for public universities comes to the House floor. And in the process, Dave Phelan's leadership team adds an amendment giving lifetime tenure to any DEI officer that works inside of our public universities. A radical social Marxist. And as we're fighting and as we're battling with the bill author on the side, we all of a sudden overhear our drunk Speaker of the Texas House. No joke. You can't make this up. Someone asked me the other day, they just said something to the degree of, Nate, what would happen if you showed up drunk to work? And I said, I think I'd probably fit in pretty well in the Texas House. The drunk Speaker of the Texas House spoke up and approved an amendment giving lifelong tenure to DEI professors on our campuses. Something has to change. It is time to kick Dave Phelan out. It is time to replace them with reformers like Cheryl who are going to take us down, who are going to speak the truth, and are going to fight for the truth no matter what it costs them. I love Cheryl because I know from day one she's going to fight with us, she's going to stand with us, and she is not going to allow the lobby or special interest groups to become her main priority. It is going to be the people. Do you believe that? House District 97. Me too. That's why I'm proud to join with these conservative champions as well as our next speaker in endorsing Cheryl Bean. I want you to know one of my closest friends in the legislature, a true fighter, a champion for medical freedom, someone who worked in the Trump administration, which ironically the rhinos love to throw that out like it's a negative. How many of you know Trump's going to come back in 2024? Can you stand to your feet and give it up for the conservative fighter of the Texas House, Representative Brian Harrison?
Howdy. No. So I cannot be the only Aggie in this room. I said howdy. All right, thank y'all. Okay, the next two words are going to be the most important words you hear from me say all night, guys. Thank you. I mean it. Guys, it's a beautiful Wednesday night. The weather is wonderful outside. You can be anywhere, family, friends, ball games, but you're here. Why are you here? I think I know why you're here. I think you're here because you know that this is the greatest nation that God has ever blessed this planet with, and that our country and our state are worth saving. Can I get an amen from you tonight? And guys, let me tell you, I hate that I have to say it sometimes as a question, like, if we're going to save the United States of America, or if we're going to save the state. I wish I didn't have to phrase that as a question. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish I could stand before you tonight and tell you that everything in our state and our country is great and going fine, but ladies and gentlemen, that's a lie. And you know what? You know that's a lie, or you wouldn't be here tonight. But let me tell you what. If we are going to save this country, if we're going to save the greatest state in the greatest country in the history of our planets, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you where it's not going to come from. It is not going to come from the top down. It is not going to come from the liberal special interests who are corrupt that control Washington, D.C. and Austin, Texas. It is going to come from the bottom up. It is going to come from grassroots patriots like every one of you in this room. So thank you for being here tonight to join with us as we try to save the state that we are proud to call home. So, as Nate mentioned to you, I had the very high honor before I got elected to the Texas legislature of serving under somebody who you probably know, President Donald J. Trump. And let me ask you, who's ready to have an America First president back in the White House? Man, I worked for President Trump until noon on January 20th, 2021. And I knew it was going to be bad. When Joe Biden put his hand on that Bible and took the oath of office, I knew it was going to be bad. But I don't think I could have had any idea, you couldn't have had any idea how much damage and destruction Joe Biden could cause in just 3 years, right? Guys, it is incumbent on states to assert our rightful place under the 10th Amendment of the Constitution and fight back against Joe Biden's unconstitutional tyranny that threatens to destroy our freedoms, our liberty, the Constitution, federalism, and the Truth Amendment on a daily basis. And you know what? To do that, and by the way, I don't think it should just be the states in general. Ladies and gentlemen, Texas should be leading the charge. But we have a problem. I'm going to tell you about the problem. Because the solution, by the way, one of the solutions is named Cheryl B. Okay. That's one of the solutions. But before I get to the solution, let me tell you about the problem. Okay, I had to, after battling the D.C. swamp for over 3 years with President Trump. By the way, I wish I could be here for an hour to talk about all the historic victories we delivered for the American people. It was my agency, HHS, we put in place something you've probably heard of called Title 42 that let President Trump lock down that border and immediately deport illegal aliens the second they crossed. We kept our word to the unborn, guys. We defunded Planned Parenthood for the first time in 50 years. And as Joe Biden is done doing that, I came home. And I was so honored that my friends and neighbors saw fit to send me to Austin to be their fighter for freedom, their voice for liberty in the Texas legislature. By the way, even though I don't represent you in this district, I fight for your freedoms and your liberty too. And I was so excited when I got elected. I was so excited to join arms with all of these elected Republicans in the Texas House because I assumed in the Texas House of Representatives, everybody who puts Republican by their name was going to fight for freedom and fight for liberty and fight for the next generation as hard as we were in the Trump administration. Oh boy, was I surprised. What did I find out when I get there? Nate alluded to this. You gave Republicans the governor's mansion, the lieutenant governor's office. Every statewide official in the state of Texas is Republican. Huge majorities in the Texas Senate and a massive majority in the Texas House. But what did I find out? The Democrats are running the joint in the Texas House. Guys, there was a coalition. Let me tell you about this. There was a coalition that everything we tried to do with President Trump in D.C., that tried to do every historic victory we made, there was a coalition that tried to defeat us. Let me tell you who they were. There were 3 parts to it. Number 1, you know this. It's the radical Democrats, right? Number 2, they're mouthpieces in the mainstream media. But number 3, and this might be the worst of all, weak, liberal, establishment Republicans. And what do y'all believe with me? If you run for office and you put the word Republican by your name, that should mean something. It doesn't just mean Democrat light. And let me tell you what, one of the reasons I'm here to support Cheryl B is because every elected official is going to have to make a choice. Cheryl's going to have to make this choice. They have a choice. You only have 2 options. And you have to choose it once you get elected to office. You can either be popular in the swamp, or you can do the right thing and fight for your constituents. Cheryl B is going to fight for you, not the corrupt Austin swamp. And let me tell you how bad it was down there, guys. The Democrats didn't just control a few of our committees. They controlled some of our most powerful committees. Public education, commerce, business, industry, natural resources. BLM, anti-Second Amendment, open borders Democrats are who our drunk, failed liberal Democrat speaker, or should be Democrat speaker, Dave Thielen, put in charge. Guys, we're Texas. We are better than that. Okay? And let me tell you what. Nate mentioned this too. The Republican Party of Texas, you, the activists, y'all asked us to only do 8 things last session. We only did 1. We couldn't even debate banning Democrat committee chairs. We couldn't even have a debate on the border security. Did you know the border security unit bill was killed? And by the way, don't ever let them tell you in Austin it was the Democrats that killed our conservative priorities. There's not enough Democrats in the Texas House to pass a birthday resolution unless Republicans happen to it. Let me be super clear. Every conservative priority that you deserve and that fails, and every Democrat, socialist, big government priority that should die, that passes, that's not the Democrats' fault. That's the fault of the Republicans that have sold you out. And let me tell you this. As somebody who has fought the swamp in D.C. and the swamp in Austin, there is nothing swampier than a Republican running for office, looking you in the eye, saying, vote for me, I'm going to fight for freedom, vote for me, I'm going to fight for liberty, vote for me, I will stand up to the radical Democrats, and then the second they get elected, they go to the basement and the Capitol close the door, they vote to put Democrats in power, and they collude with them to destroy liberty. How many of you are ready for a reformation in the Republican Party where we get back, amen, to the principles that made our country great, the principles of liberty, individual freedom, secure borders, governments that are constrained in their power by the limits placed on it by our federal and our state constitution. Cheryl B is that kind of Republican. Yes, she is. We need people like Cheryl B. Let me talk about one thing that Joe did. It's one of the reasons why I think our featured speaker is coming tonight. How many of you believe that parents should be in charge of their kids' education? I agree with Senator Ted Cruz, and something tells me he's going to talk about this tonight, that it is the civil rights issue of our day, and on top of securing the border, maybe the most important thing, because I can think of nothing more important than how we educate the next generation of Texans. And one of the silver linings to COVID, there's very few, but one of the silver linings was parents' eyes were open for the first time to what was going on in the classroom all across this country, and we had a tidal wave of school choice sweep the nation. State after state after state passed school choice. Said we're going to let the parents decide where to send their beautiful, precious, unique, and individual children. Texas should have been leading. But not only did we not lead, as 33 other states have already led. Ladies and gentlemen, the Texas Senate passed bill after bill after bill for school choice. What did the Texas House do? Not only did the Texas House not pass school choice, ladies and gentlemen, the Texas House passed a budget that made school choice illegal. It is time for that to change. And I've got a reason for hope. There's a reason for optimism. You're here filling this room tonight. We had a historic primary last season. Nate Schatzline, Tony Tinderhold, me, Ted Cruz, Governor Abbott, Ken Paxton. We're traveling the country. And guess what? We're knocking off liberal rhinos all over the great state. One more thing on here, because states have got to start standing up. Did y'all see what Joe Biden just did with his Title IX rule? Anybody heard about this? Joe Biden, through his unconstitutional Department of Education, is going to force child sexual predators into little girls' bathrooms in public schools across the state of Texas. He's going to put boys on girls' sports teams. He's going to threaten teachers with jail time if they do not use preferred pronouns against the wills of their parents. Ladies and gentlemen, I just got done talking with Cheryl Bean about this. I put out a statement yesterday because I think it's incumbent upon the state of Texas to stop subjugating ourselves to liberal, woke Washington, D.C. bureaucrats, and we need to take a bold stand and start talking about whether the state of Texas should tell the federal government to keep all their money and keep all their strings and keep all their dangerous regulations in Washington, D.C. Texas students should be educated by Texas families. And Cheryl Bean is one of the few Republicans willing to say, let's take that on next session. So guys, it is with great pleasure that I'm going to bring up our next speaker. Tell me this, and let me hear it as she makes her way to the stage. Do you want secure borders? Do you want lower taxes? Do you want less regulation? Do you want the Constitution adhered to? Do you want that school choice? Do you want to ban taxpayer-funded lobbying? Do you want to protect individual liberty and freedom for the next generation? Do you want to keep Texas the greatest state and the greatest nation this world's ever known? If so, join me in welcoming my friend and the next representative in the Texas House of Representatives, Cheryl Bean.
Their ranks and be part of their Thank you all for coming. Thank you for taking an interest in our state and in our country. And I just am so grateful for all of you for being here. So we do have a decision to make. We have a campaign to run. Many of you know that you're in a runoff. And I only lost out of 18,000 votes by 56 points, 5-6. That's pretty short, pretty close. But you know what? I think God had a plan, because in so doing that, it's put us in a position where we get to go strengthen our ranks, meet a whole lot more people, build a lot bigger base, and we'll go out and we will blow it out of the water this next year. If you listen to my opponent, who I actually genuinely like, he will say, we're the same. We're conservative. We believe in the border. We like school choice. We want prosperous business. And he's right, we do. But that's where the commonality stops. And I think I owe it to all of you to say, okay, let's take each of those issues. Let's contrast how we're the same and how we're different. And to me, that starts with the history, because your personal history defines who you are. And my personal history is over 60 years in this district. I grew up here. I raised my kids here. My grandkids are now going to school in this district. I actually accepted Jesus as my Savior here. I go to church here. All those things. I work here, I work for the largest employer here, and I started a business here. You know, one of my high school classmates, his name was Randy Bolin. Randy Bolin is the Mayor Bob Bolin's son. I sat on PTA boards with Betsy Price. You are my family. You are my friends. I belong here. And so I am your hometown candidate compared to, maybe a decade if you include college education of my opponent. I've got over, 3 decades of, 6 decades actually of membership here. So that's one contrast right off the bat. Another thing is we talk about experience. Well, he's right. We need experience, but let's look at business experience. All right, we are common. We're both entrepreneurs. We both run a small business. All right, we both have real estate investments. And that's where the story ends on commonality. In addition to that, that's where I start. But I actually started a lot of time before that working for the Fortune 100 company that's the largest employer here in Tarrant County. And not only did I work there for 15 years in their top 1% of their thing, hit upper middle management. I'm the only candidate that has international experience. And we're the 8th largest economy in the world, so I think that's a little bit important. I'm the only candidate that has engineering experience, the only candidate that has manufacturing experience, the only candidate that has production experience. The list goes on and on and on. I'm the only candidate who has gone across this country, briefing all the way up to the highest levels in the military and different things, both here as well as internationally. I know what it takes to support businesses and their prosperity of all sizes and in all grades. Because I'm also the only candidate that ever started a company with a blank sheet of paper. So, that's... If you want to talk education, you're right. Where'd you go? Right there. You changed seats. Okay. That is something very near and dear to me. And both of us have children, and I have grandchildren, all in this district at this point in time. However, there's a huge difference there. I'm the only candidate who has had and attended public schools, and in fact has 3 generations, myself, my kids, and my grandkids in public schools, and are also some down the charter in the private school arena as well. I'm also the only candidate that has served on a public school board. I'm still serving on a public school board. And in that public school role, we face the challenges of the whole gender identity stuff. We've taken the arrows and the slings along to see Band-Aids and looks a good row wherever she is here. We've bought those and we bought them back, and ACLU is coming back to us, but we've held strong. And how horrible it is that our president, with the stroke of a pen, reversed all of that last Friday. The good news is, Ken Paxton told me on just Monday, he's going to sue him. So the other thing that you want about, if you want to talk education, I'm the only candidate that's ever attended a Fort Worth ISD school board. In fact, the only one who stood up and talked against and stood firm on, we don't need crummy sex education in our schools. Contrast that kind of experience with someone who only knows the elite private school world. There's nothing wrong with private schools. But don't say you want to know and you know how to support public schools if you've never had anything to do with them. Okay? So, let's talk defense. That's one of our biggest issues here. My opponent says, I lived near the border in 2014. Well, great. The border wasn't a crisis then. It was open, but it wasn't a crisis then, right? So, who's coming across that border? Cartel. They are the largest and most fierce terrorists in the entire world. I'm the only candidate who did that for a living and actually learned what it means to assess the terrorists, to work with them, and do something about it. I have a lifetime as an adult experience on that. My husband and I, we run a company that works in that arena today, moving forces around the world. So, once again, big difference. But maybe we can take issue by issue, and the contrast is always the same in that regard. But maybe we ought to look at your voting record. Well, I guess neither of us have ever voted while we were because we've never been in office as a rep before, but we certainly have a voting record. And you would think somebody running for public office could make up their mind whether they want to vote Republican or Democrat. Well, I had 40 years of consistently voting Republican. And voting Republican, not only in the primary big president years, but in the primaries, in the runoffs for the propositions. My opponent voted Democrat for Winnie Burgess against Governor Abbott in 2000. My opponent doesn't typically show up for primaries. So, big difference. But even though we don't have a voting record in the record, we do have a service record. And that service record is how engaged are you before you decided to run for office? Okay? Well, let me tell you, I'm a precinct chair, and I've been involved actively from the time at the local, the state, as well as the national level with multiple organizations and attending them. My opponent has never done anything in that regard. He has no clue. And the thing he struggled with when we debate is even understanding what the issues are, like Democrat chairs, which he preferred in his recent times, because he's never been involved. In fact, he's obviously still not involved because I'm the only candidate in this race that's going to be a delegate at the state convention coming up. He's never done it. But, okay, let's give credit for the fact that maybe we haven't been actively involved politically, but surely we've been active in the community in some form or fashion. Surely we served on a board somewhere, or we participated in something. No, none. I'm on 4 boards right now. I'm honored to be our county judges appointed to the MHMR Mental Health, which has a whole different diverse group of people and issues there. I'm excited to be an executive committee for the GOP, along with many of my other precinct chairs in here who are my friends. Okay, I'm excited to have served on the school board, and I'm excited to have been the president of the Builders Association, which covers the 7-county area. There's no thing here. But you know, you compare those things and, you know, don't believe me that makes a difference. Look at the endorsements I have. I'm not a one endorsement candidate. You know, but I'm proud to say that I have Mr. Tim O'Hare here. I have Ted Cruz, who's coming here. I just think he's here pretty quick, so I'm going to stop and listen here. But then I had Dan Patrick, Kent Paxton, Sid Miller, Don Buckingham. Thank you, Holly. That was great. I'm proud to say I have 8 representatives, including these 2 here, and Tenderhold, who hasn't spoken today. And I guess one of the things I am absolutely most proud to have is 160 plus precinct chairs of our greater It also includes 100% of my opponent has 2, maybe 3. That's not very telling, is it? So, one other major difference in us, and then I'm going to kind of finish up what I'm saying, is we both say that we will fight hard and we will be there and support you. And yet I'm the only candidate who ever had to take a public stand and put not only myself, but my family and my business at risk. And we did that just a couple of years ago, along with my other fellow public school members. You know, when we were fighting the whole gender identity thing. We had people hissing at us like serpents. We had them clicking their fingers. We had them coming after. And if you live in Wedgwood, you would have seen nice little rolled up scrolls in every door saying how evil I am because I don't believe in Jesus and the Bible, because I don't support, transgendering our children and same-sex marriage and everything else. I have a track record in doing that, and that's not the first or the last time I've done that. So, one last thing. I guess the big thing is, what is motivating us to run? I don't have any idea what my opponent's motivation is, but I can tell you what mine is. I am so concerned with where our country's going. I am so concerned with where our state is going, and I don't want to leave our kids in the world that we have right now, that it's going to be if we don't stop and do something about it. And so I had this little knocking going on. In fact, my husband right here both did. And we got more and more involved, first with our treasurer, then with our time, then with organizations, and then supporting other great people like this to run. And when Goldman stepped out, this knock got really loud. And many of you were the voice that came and said, you need to do this, you need to run. And the voice I heard from deep inside was, Cheryl, I have created you and trained you for a time like this. Amen. If you look at the experience, you look back in your lifetime, whether it's defense to go after that border, or whether it's the education and being invited to be on the school board, or whether having such a diverse background of business experience, whatever it might be, I have trained you. Follow me. That's what I'm doing. I am following him, and I will fight hard for you, and I will do everything I can to make this place a better place. Thank you. Senator Cruz, are you out there somewhere? Woo! I want to tell you, this man knows how to pack a house. I mean, he needs no introduction. He's my hero. He's a guy standing strong against everything evil in Washington. I give him Senator Ted Cruz.
God bless the great state of Texas. And God bless Terry County. Cheryl, I'm so proud to be here supporting you tonight. I want to say thank you to the men and women who came out tonight. Thank you for standing up for the great state of Texas. I want to come tonight with a word of hope and a word of encouragement. I've got two simple points to make this evening. First of all, America is in crisis.
Yes.
Look, what's happening right now, this isn't normal. This is fundamentally broken. The Biden White House, they've managed to get every single thing they've touched wrong. Everything. Look, that's actually hard to do. I mean, look, by accident, if they threw darts at a wall, they'd get something right just by accident. They spent trillions of dollars we don't have, printing money and borrowing it from China. We've got inflation out of control, the cost of everything going up. Cost of food, cost of lumber, cost of health care, cost of electricity, cost of rent, cost of mortgages, cost of gasoline. I mean, heck, it's so bad Hunter Biden can't afford crack cocaine. But it's okay. Conveniently, they leave them around in baggies in the White House. By the way, how messed up is it that that's true? Look, you look at crime that is unfolding. You look at the chaos at our southern border. Since Joe Biden became president, we have had more than 11 million illegal aliens come into this country. This is an invasion at our southern border. And I'll tell you, you cannot look at the dead bodies. You cannot look at the children being brutalized by human traffickers. You cannot look at the women being sexually assaulted by traffickers. You cannot look at the dead bodies from drug overdoses. You cannot look at the crimes being committed week after week after week by illegal aliens that Joe Biden has released. You cannot look at the risk of terrorism that is growing every single day from the invasion that is happening in our state. You cannot look at it and defend it. It is wrong, it is evil, and it's got to end. And as bad as domestic policy has been, as bad as economic policy has been, foreign policy has been even worse. Joe Biden came into office, he inherited peace and prosperity. We've now got two simultaneous wars. The biggest war in Europe since World War II, and the worst war in the Middle East in 50 years. We have Hamas terrorists who committed an absolute atrocity on October 7th. And I'll tell you what, here in the state of Texas and across this country, we stand with the state of Israel. And I know you're sick and tired of seeing the radical left undermine Israel. The last few weeks we saw Chuck Schumer stand on the Senate floor and demand that Benjamin Netanyahu be thrown out of office. Just yesterday, Nancy Pelosi joined him and demanded that Netanyahu be thrown out of office. We saw Joe Biden orchestrate a resolution at the United Nations effectively condemning Israel and calling for an immediate ceasefire, because at every stage this administration has said to Israel, stop killing the terrorists. Well, I'll tell you what, I stand with Israel to eliminate Hamas. And we see the lunacy playing out on college campuses. This is the fruit of the radical left, of the cultural Marxism that is poisoning our children.
I'm going to buy a car.
It is. And we see right now, whether it's at Columbia or NYU or Yale
Or UT.
or UT, we see radicals that are chanting their support for Hamas and that are threatening the safety of Jewish students at universities. The Orthodox rabbi at Columbia told Jewish students there, go home and stay home, because Columbia cannot and will not protect your safety. That is fundamentally unacceptable. And let me say, any radical who threatens the safety of another student should be arrested. They should be prosecuted. They should be expelled. And if they're from another country, they should be deported. Now, at the outset, I told you I wanted to give you a word of hope and encouragement. Some of y'all might be saying, Ted, you really suck at this. But I told you I had two messages. So let me get to the second. Revival is coming. We see what's happening nationally, and our country is going the wrong direction. I'm here to tell you, Texas is the antidote. Yeah. We're doing it right here, and we've got to keep Texas, Texas. Yeah. And I got to tell you, throughout history, politics has had pendulum sense to it. When one party gets in power and they go too far one direction, the American people pull it back. Well, they're looking at this idiocy in Washington, and they're saying enough is enough. Look, even the Democrats saying this nonsense don't believe it. Listen, we've got now Democrats that can't figure out what is a woman. That didn't used to be a trick question. For all of recorded history, you can go back to the cavemen. Say, sir, do you know what a woman is? Yep, sure do. And these numbskulls, they know they're lying. Joe Biden knows what a woman is. I can prove it to you. He only sifts the hair of girls. start sniffing his hair. And you know what? I am even more certain Bill Clinton knows what a woman is. But when we see this nonsense, it opens people's eyes. It opened people's eyes, and I'll tell you, Texas has a responsibility to lead. And we're here tonight supporting Cheryl Bean because we need real conservative fighters who will stand and fight. We need people who know what they believe, who don't have to take a poll or stick their finger in the air to see which way the wind is blowing. We need people with backbone.
Yes, we do.
No jelly bags.
And you know what? You can tell someone by the company they keep. You look at Tim O'Hare, who's doing a great job. Tim, thank you. And Brian Harrison and Nate Schatzline and Tony Timberhole. It is not an accident who shows up here and who's standing up and saying, we need reinforcements. Because I got to tell you, there are too many Republicans in Washington and too many Republicans in Austin that aren't willing to stand for us.
Get rid of them.
And let me tell you right now, Cheryl is here, and Cheryl is going to win because of you. Cheryl is the candidate of the grassroots. And that is how she's going to win, and I'll tell you when she wins.
All right. All right.
Look, it's incumbent on everyone here when that happens to hold her accountable.
Yes.
And hold every one of us accountable, hold me accountable.
Oh, we will.
Absolutely. That is what gives the power of Texas and the grassroots. And you ask me why I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic because I look around this room and I see warriors who love liberty. I see women and men who are prepared to stand up and fight for Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And look, I got to say, in my race, I'm running this year.
We're fighting for you, too.
And Chuck Schumer has made clear I'm his #1 target in the country. And Schumer and George Soros are going to spend over $100 million.
Wow.
Bring it. Trying to take me on. They're coming after Texas. Well, I'll tell you what, you can't have it. I want to ask every one of you in the runoff, come out and vote for Cheryl Bean 10 times. All right, now look, I'm not urging voter fraud. I saw my friend Jack Fick pull out a note card and said, uh-oh, urging multiple felonies from the stage. I got a breaking story. But let me tell you how you can do it. Number 1, you make sure you come out and vote. But number 2, when you leave tonight, pull out your cell phone. Go through your contacts and find 9 people and send them a text tonight. Text your sister. Text your next door neighbor. Text your coworker. Text your crazy uncle. And say, look, I know, Cheryl, this race matters, and if you get 9 people to vote who wouldn't have voted otherwise, you just voted 10 times. That's how Cheryl wins. That's how we grow the cadre of principled conservatives in Austin who are fighting for the state of Texas. And then in November, we need to do that again, and we need to make sure that everyone shows up, because all of the money nationally is aiming at Texas. They want to flip Texas because, look, if they take Texas, the country is lost. But the reason I know it's not going to happen is I look around this room. I want to tell everyone here, look to your left and look to your right. That's why I'm optimistic. Is the men and women who are here and fighting and ready to defend our state. Liberty is worth defending. Moms and dads are worth defending. Our children are worth defending.